not Pico.
Okay.
Good day to the Maryland Prince Hall family and to those Prince Hall Masons and Eastern Stars from other jurisdictions who may be viewing us at this time and joining us for this Prince Hall virtual town hall meeting, which is featuring the Prince Hall heads of houses for the Maryland Masonic jurisdiction. I greet you as the Grand Master and as a fellow citizen of this great republic who's undergoing the tragedy associated with COVID-19. I do pray that each of you and your families are safe and healthy. We continue to pray for those that are dealing with the virus and those who have lost family members. Please know that we care and are concerned and are in constant prayer with you and your families. I want to recognize also the essential workers. The governor of Maryland has declared today as a day of recognition for those who go out daily to keep our society going. So here I tip my hat to those individuals and commend them and thank them, and I'll be praying for their safety and that of their families. Today's virtual town hall meeting will feature the heads of houses. It will give our membership an opportunity to address questions or to field questions to the leadership, to allow you to see them and to know that they are healthy and safe. So at this time, I will now introduce who we have on our panel. From Myra Grand Chapter, Order of the Eastern Star, we have Sister Barbara J. Henderson, the Grand Worthy Matron. Joining us by phone is our Grand Worthy Patron, Brother Robert K. Perry. Representing the Samuel T. Daniels Council of Deliberation for the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite is Grand Inspector General William Bill Davidson, who is the First Lieutenant Commander. And representing the Willard W. Allen State Grand Assembly, Order of the Golden Circle, is Vanessa Thompson, the State Grand Lord Lady Ruler. From the York Rite side, we have Most Excellent Grand High Priest Dale Weaver of Hiram Holy Grand Chapter, Royal Arch Masons. From Rahab Grand Court, Heroines of Jericho, we have Sister Beverly Johnson Conway. Brother Roscoe Murray, who is the Most Worthy Grand Joshua, is dealing with a family emergency, so please keep him and his family in your prayers. From the Prince Hall Grand Council of Royal and Select Masters, we have Grand Thrice Illustrious Master Clarence A. Traham. From the Naomi Grand Court, Ladies of the Circle of Perfection, we have the Royal Grand Perfect Matron, Alana Smokes. The Royal Grand Chief Engineer is Jason Burstyn. He is one of those essential workers, so he is not with us today. From St. Andrew's Grand Commandery, Knights Templar, we have the Most Eminent Grand Commander, Eddie V. Tucker. From the Most Royal Grand Court of Syrenes, we have the Most Royal Grand Commander, Joan D. Campbell, and the Most Royal Grand Chief Engineer, Medford J. Campbell, Jr. From the Brown Stewart Thompson Priory, Knights of the York Cross of Honor, we have Eminent Prior Michael E. White. From the Desert of Maryland, we have Noble Otis D'Angelo Wilson, Imperial Deputy of the Desert. And from the Imperial Court Daughters, the Deputy for the Desert, daughter Patricia A. McCoy Lassiter. And finally, we have a representative from the Prince Hall Foundation in the person of our chairman, Rainier C. Harvey, Sr. So we will now open up for questions specifically to our panelists. And I'm going to go in the reverse order. So I'm going to ask the chairman of the Prince Hall Foundation to please come into view of the camera. And that is Rainier C. Harvey, Sr.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Well, hold on, let me back up here,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harvey, because I kind of skipped around my agenda, so let me apologize. I'm supposed to allow opening statements here at this point.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going back up. You can stay there. So I'm going to start with the Grandworthy Matron. Please give your attention to Sister Barbara J. Henderson.
Good afternoon to the Grand Lodge Grand Master, Tamara Grand Chapter, Order of the Eastern Stars, all my sisters and brothers. Thank you for joining us today as the Grand Lodge hosts this very important meeting. As the nation starts reopening and restrictions are lifted, I know there are many questions and feelings of uncertainty of how this impacts each of us. In the uncertain times, we will continue to adopt and evolve the way we operate. I want to give you confidence that your safety and well-being remains our top priority. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Davidson of the Samuel T. Daniels Council of Deliberation. I bring you greetings on behalf of Sovereign Grand Inspector General Garnett Hall. I pray that each and every one of you are doing well. I would like to commend the Honorable Emmanuel J. Stanley for putting this on, and I hope that this is an enjoyable and informative meeting. Thank you.
Greetings, Prince Hall family. I too believe that we are being still and listening to God. He is trying to tell us something. I hope that everyone continues to remain safe and abide by the guidelines by Governor Hogan and our most versatile Grandmaster Stanley. Just keep trusting in God. Thank you, Grandmaster, for allowing us to talk to the membership to see how they're feeling about what we are all going through. Again, my members, I just say, we give all praises to God for his continued blessings on us, and just keep trusting in him, and he will see us through this. Prince Hall family, we are strong, and we will get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to our York Rite delegation, and we will start with Hiram Holy Grand Chapter and hear from the Most Excellent Grand High Priest, Dale Weaver.
Good evening, Most Worshipful Grand Master and all members of this great Maryland jurisdiction. I bring you greetings from the Most Excellent Hiram Holy Grand Chapter, Holy Royal Arch Masons. First, Grand Master, I want to thank you for hosting this town hall. I think it's very much needed and it's very encouraging to the membership to get direct information that is viable for our survival and operation. I also want to commend you on you and Bishop Orlando Wilson on the weekly prayer call, which is also encouraging for all of us. And we look forward to hearing that each week. And just know to the membership, just know that this pandemic is unprecedented and we're doing everything that we can to get through this. I know the membership of Hiram Holy Grand Chapter is doing everything that they can to continue to be in contact with their membership and for their membership, most importantly, to remain safe and steadfast during this crisis. If there's anything that you need from any of us, please don't hesitate to ask, and we are behind you 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Did the most ancient Grand Matron join the call yet?
I'm here.
Okay, so we will now hear from Sister Beverly Johnson Conway, representing Rahab Grand Court Heroines of Jericho.
Yes, good afternoon. First, I want to apologize for my lateness. I'm sorry, my doctor's appointment ran longer than I thought about. But anyhow, I am glad to be here this evening. I want to thank you, Grandmaster Stanley, for your invitation and your continued information sharing with us. I want to thank all of the frontline workers who are putting their lives at stake and who are putting the lives of their families and their other lives at stake to help us be safe. And I just hope that we are all continuing to do what we are supposed to be doing to help us stay safe and to get this virus taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll now hear from Prince Hall Grand Council, Royal and Select Masters in the person of the Grand Thrice Illustrious Master, Clarence Trahan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I bring you greetings from Most Illustrious Prince Hall Grand Council, Royal Select Masters. Grand Master, thank you for allowing me to participate in this town hall. I hope everyone is stay safe and staying well and just do the best you can do during this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the Most Royal Grand Court of Sirens, Most Royal Grand Commanders, Joan D. Campbell.
Thank you, Grandmaster Stanley. We are both honored to be with our Grandmaster and all the concordant and appendant bodies present this afternoon. To all the Siren and the Sir Knights present, thank you for being here this afternoon to support this endeavor. We want you to know that your safety and well-being are our main concerns. We know that God will see us through this tragedy. We're doing everything we can possibly do to get through this, but we really want you to know we are here for you. Thank you again.
Thank you. I see you have someone next to you, and you all don't have to practice social distancing.
That's right.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Royal Grand Chief Engineer and your husband, Medford J. Campbell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sir Knight Medford J. Campbell, Jr., and I serve as the Most Royal Grand Chief Engineer for the Most Royal Grand Court of Sirene. Please stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let me circle back, and we'll now hear from Naomi Grand Court, Ladies of the Circle of Perfection, Royal Grand Perfect Matron, Alana Smokes.
Good afternoon. I'm Royal Grand Perfect Matron Alana Smokes, and I serve as the Royal Grand Perfect Matron of Naomi Grand Court, Ladies of the Circle of Perfection, Prince Hall affiliated. On behalf of the officers and members of Naomi Grand Court, I greet you all with light and love. I pray that in spite of our current circumstances, we are all reminded of the many mercies and blessings that we receive daily. Grandmaster Stanley, I thank you for your guidance and leadership through this pandemic. Thank you for this opportunity to come together as a collective body to address the Prince Hall family. This is an unprecedented time, but we serve an unprecedented God. And together, we will make it through to the other side of this pandemic. Again, please be safe, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my understanding that the Grand Worthy Patron has now been able to join us, so we could hear from Brother Robert K. Perry.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Grandmaster. Sorry, a few difficulties, but I made it.
No need for apologies. Glad to have you.
All I'd like to say is to all members of Mara Grand, be thankful that we're still above ground and we're alive and we're doing well. And I hope that each and one of you, your families, are well and in good spirits. Thank you again, Grandmaster, for allowing me to join this meeting.
Thank you. Simplify. We'll now hear from St. Andrews Grand Commandery in the person of our most eminent Grand Commander, Sir Knight Eddie V. Tucker.
Good afternoon, Most Worshipful Grand Master Stanley, and to the Maryland family. I bring greetings from St. Andrews Grand Commandery, where we believe in safety and our members' care is utmost. But as I say this to you, be careful in the things that we do out and believe in the Lord of hosts, because he will get us through. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now from the Brown Stewart Thompson Priory, Knights of the York Cross of Honor, Eminent Prior Michael White.
For those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute, speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Proverbs 31, 8-9. Good afternoon, I'm Michael White of Brown Stewart Thompson Priory, number 11. I'd like to offer a kind hearty thank you to the Most Worshipful Grand Master for inviting Brown Stewart Thompson to this forum this afternoon. As leaders, it is incumbent upon us all to be ready to answer the call of our brothers and sisters while in need, whether they wear the emblems or not of a Masonic body. We have Brown Stewart Thompson shall be always offer our assistance with whoever is in need of us. May the Lord of Abraham continue to look and be able to watch over us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now from the desert of Maryland, the Imperial Deputy of the Desert, Noble Otis D'Angelo Wilson.
Good afternoon, Most Worshipful Sir, respective heads of household, this great jurisdiction, our nobles and daughters here, brothers and sisters, and all assembled. First and foremost, I am thankful to my Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ, from whom all blessings and flow for this moment and this opportunity. Even during these troubling times and uncertain times, Jesus is still in the blessing business. Most Worshipful Sir, on behalf of the Desert of Maryland, its nobles and its daughters, we appreciate your kindness and your kindred spirit. You have always represented your desert and proudly donned your Mizar Fez. We appreciate your support and vote of confidence. Honorary Past Potentate Emmanuel James Stanley. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. I must admit that times have been particularly tough. As my colleagues have admitted, that COVID-19 is just running rampant, in this pandemic has us all pretty much paralyzed. However, we know who is in total control. There's been trials, tribulations, and turmoil. We've suffered transitions of loved ones, and I would be remiss if I did not mention one, Honorary Past Imperial Potentate Easton G. Stewart, Jr., Imperial Auditor. He continues to be with us in spirit and truth. I just want to say that social distancing is apparent, but never spiritual distancing. Continue to believe, pray, and have faith, and all will be well.
Thank you, Deputy. We'll now hear from the Imperial Deputy for the Desert, for the Imperial Court Daughters, in the person of Daughter Patricia A. McCoy Lassiter.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to say thank you, Most Worshipful Grand Master Stanley, for extending me and the Desert Maryland Daughters to participate in this Prince Hall virtual town hall meeting. This is a first. I bring you greetings from the Desert of Maryland Daughters, and it is a pleasure to join you and all the Concordians here today. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll ask Renee Harvey to come back representing our Prince Hall Foundation here in Maryland. Chairman Harvey.
Thank you, Grandmaster. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to say thank you to all of our Masonic royalty today, to you also, Grandmaster, for this town hall meeting. When we talk about truly unprecedented events, I would like to say that Grandmaster's leadership during this time is greatly appreciated. So thank you all.
Thank you. So to the Maryland family that's watching, let me explain the format going forward. So that we can have some measure of organization, we are going to structure our questions based upon the groups. So we'll start with the Desert of Maryland. So if you have questions for the Desert of Maryland, you may now submit your questions. And then the Imperial Deputy of and for the Desert can respond accordingly. And then we will go in the inverse order. We will go back through the York Rite, to the Scottish Rite, to Myra Grand Chapter, to the Grand Lodge. And then the foundation has some specific things that they will speak to. So we will now take questions from anyone that may have any questions of the Desert of Maryland. If we have none, then we will move swiftly to the York Rite. Now, once we go through the structured period, then we will have an open format. So if you forgot or couldn't remember your question or couldn't log in a timely manner, we would then have an open format the way you can still ask questions. Nothing for the Desert?
And most forceful, sir, I will add at this moment, as we ponder some questions, that just want to reiterate to this Desert that all events are herewith canceled. We shouldn't be conducting any activities in the name of the Ancient Egyptian Arabic Order Nobles Mystic Shrine, North and South America, and its jurisdiction. And furthermore, the 2020 Maryland Desert Conference is herewith canceled. And I'm working with my Imperial Deputy for the Desert to return the funds that were sent in for the conference. Over.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. The membership appreciates that.
So we have a question for the Imperial Deputy of the Desert. Are there any updates on Imperial Session 2020? And if so, could you convey them?
Thanks so very much. And I appreciate the nobles and daughters for leaning forward and wanting to know and want to get after it. So thanks very much. Many different permutations have been discussed. However, the Imperial session is still scheduled to convene in Atlanta. However, updates are happening at moment's notice. But right now, there's no change, but just stay tuned. Over.
Thank you. Good question. No other questions for the Desert of Maryland? Outstanding. We will now move to the York Rite bodies and see if there are any questions. And I'm going to leave it wide open there instead of trying to go through the priory or whoever the question is addressed to. Brother Clegg, just make it known. Outstanding. Does anybody from the York Rite side have any additional statements or questions that you may have received offline that you want to address?
Yes, sir. Most Worshipful Grand Master, if I could talk to the staff or the membership of the Brown Stewart Thompson Priory, the convent general General Grand Conference is hereby canceled. I have been in contact with the most eminent Grand Master, Dr. George Williams. He will be sending out information for upcoming teleconference that he's going to be doing with nationwide membership coming soon. So that'll be coming down. So just look for that and check your emails when that comes out. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
More worshipful, sir. This is Most Eminent Grand Commander Tucker. As stated earlier in March, when I had my first conference, the information that went out to the Sir Knights that we will be canceling our 147th Grand Conclave, and which has been canceled, and all other events leading up to that, Good Friday and our Ascension Day. What I just sent out is that for administrative purposes only, we will be receiving returns, but no funds. And this is just to see administratively to keep a track of what's going on. And also the Grand Conclave, the Grand Encampment has also been canceled, and that information has also went out. And lastly, with the information that was put out in March, I stated before you stated to this great body of Masons that everyone will stay in place. And we still adhering to those things that was put out. I can hear any questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again, Most Worshipful Grand Master. Just want to reiterate For Harem Holy Grand Chapter, the membership is already well, but for the bigger audience, all events and functions that fall under the Most Excellent Harem Holy Grand Chapter has been canceled. Also, the General Grand Conference of Grand Chapters that was supposed to take place from the 3rd to the 8th of July has also been canceled. So we're pretty much in standby mode until this fall for the most of it. So if anybody has any questions for me in reference to anything that has already been put out to our membership in reference to virtual meetings, in reference to officer positions or officers staying in place, feel free to ask those questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from our Grand Thrice Illustrious Master?
Good afternoon, Grandmaster. Pretty much what the other heads and houses said on the York fight, I pretty much told all of the illustrious companions that we wasn't going to have a session this year due to the pandemic and social distancing. They already know that the General Conference of Grand Council was canceled. So this information has been told to them a number of times. So everybody pretty much knows what's going on. I've been keeping them up to date when we get information from you. I do want to let everybody know that we do have a raffle going on. And I didn't want to cancel that because I had other people selling tickets for me and we collected a lot of money. So that's going to be done via Facebook Live. So July 25th would have been the day I would have had my session. We're going to do this on Facebook Live. So it's still time to get tickets. And for everybody who supported me, thank you.
Hey, tell me a little bit more about the raffle real quick. How much are they? Prizes?
It's $5. We're going to raffle off a bushel of crabs or $400, which is the value of a large bushel of large males. So if you don't want the crabs, you want the $400. So a lot of people did contact me and call me and text me. So I told them we were still doing it. I don't want them to say that Prince Hall Masons ripped them off. You know, they don't want to give us a bad name. So we still have tickets available.
Thank you. All right, any questions come in for the York Rite? Okay, outstanding. Did anyone else from the York Rite side have any other comments?
Yes, Grandmaster, this is Most Royal Grand Commandress. I wanted you and all assembled to know that the Royal Grand Court of Cyrene did hold a very emotional prayer call a couple of weeks ago, and the attendance was phenomenal. We plan to hold others because we have been asked to hold others, and we will keep the Grand Court notified of the dates.
Thank you. Is that closed or is that open?
I would like to have it open.
I would like to join.
I will invite you.
Thank you.
We have one
question for doing that. You have a question?
We have one comment. The comment was for our Grand Thrice. It is from illustrious companion Christopher Lewis L. He says, "Sorry, Grand, but I am winning this raffle."
I don't think so. I think I got it with a ticket, but that's good. Good to hear from him. Okay, we'll now move to our Scottish Rite delegation. If there's any questions for the Scottish Rite, or if Bill Davidson or Vanessa Thompson have any statements that they'd like to make to the membership concerning those specific bodies.
Yes, and again, thank you very much, Most Worshipful Grand Master. I'd just like to say that the United Supreme Council annual session is still scheduled to go on in October, and that will be in Jacksonville, Florida. Again, that's provided how well things are recovering from this pandemic. And for those Scottish Rite bodies, the United Supreme Council will be sending out the annual reports in May for June 30 dues date. Outside of that, I would like everyone to please stay safe and be well.
Okay. Was there a question for?
Yes, we have a question for First Lieutenant Davidson. It is from Walter Heinsohn. He says, "Good afternoon, First Lieutenant, Grand Inspector General Davidson. Any information pertaining to 33rd degree nominations/applications?"
Yes, anyone who has any nominations for the 33rd degree, please get your package together and get that application to Sovereign Grand Inspector General Garnett Hall.
Okay, and I'm sure some of that information will be coming out through the Scottish Rite channels. Vanessa,
Yes,
Thomas, any comments?
Thank you, Grandmaster. Just that I'm keeping in touch with my officers and Laurel Lady rulers. They have been reporting on illnesses and deaths within their families, but we are doing great at this time. Deputy Hall did say that he will be issuing guidelines and security protocol regarding online meetings and how to securely conduct the meetings. That information will be coming forward soon, and the council deliberation is prepared to move forward with online voting or mail-in voting if required. They have a service who is secure, who will help us with that, with the election process. So members, just be patient and continue to work together as we get through this pandemic. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, we'll now go to Myra Grand Chapter, the Grand Worthy Matron and the Grand Worthy Patron. If you have questions for them, and Grand Worthy Matron, did you have any comments or questions that had already been addressed to you that you want to now speak to?
As of right now, I have a few questions, but they will be answered as we continue to work our way through the pandemic. As far as face masks, whatever is put out by the governor, the Grand Master, as long as they're tasteful, we're not having any meetings right now. So, you know, other than online, if you want to wear a mask for your online meeting, please do so. The Grand Master also answered the questions about members retaining their positions. As you look into the Constitution and bylaws, Article 20, Section 5B, it states that the last officer installed will continue to be in that position until discharge of their duties. An election has been held and duly elected and installed. So at this time, you know, that's all I can ask you to do is continue to serve for Myra Grand Chapter and your chapter. Grand Patron, I don't know if you had anything.
No, Grand Worthy Matron, you said it all. Only thing I could add is for all in Myra Grand to remember that we fall under the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, and what he says, go. That's it. But all of you stay safe.
Thank you, Grand Worthy Patron. I appreciate that.
Question.
We had a question.
Correct. We have a comment from Wesley Pack that says, shout out to Brother Robert Perry, Grand Worthy Patron, repping the Eastern Shore. So excited on the Eastern Shore to see you, Grand Worthy Patron. Also, we have a question for the Grand Worthy Matron from Sister Michelle J. Lilly. It says, are events canceled for the remainder of the year?
The events, yes, are canceled. I can't say for the remainder of the year, but until further information has come about from the governor and either our Grand Master.
And then a comment from Sister Marcia Cooper, who says, love you, Grand Worthy Matron.
Love you also. Also, I would just like to mention that Myra Grand website is up. We're trying to get all our forms out online for the chapters that may need them. But if you have any comments or would like to look at it, please do so. And you can also get back to the Grand Associate Patron. I'll get ready to say Kearney, I'm sorry. So if you have anything for the website, please do so. Thank you.
Yes, we have another question for the Grand Worthy Matron from Sister Michelle J. Lilly. Are refunds to be sent for canceled events?
For what canceled events?
There's a bit of a delay, so it'll take her a minute to answer, but I guess she just means events in general for which funds have been collected.
The refunds will be done by the chapters, but April the 4th, I had a meeting with the worthy matrons about different payments that were suspended until further notice, but those chapters who did make payments, that they will be credited to the chapter account at Mara.
Okay, and to past matron Michelle Lilly, I'm sure the grand matron will look further into that. She would need to know the specifics of the events. If the event is already passed and was not held, then absolutely, your money will be refunded. If the event is for a future date, it's pending, because we're not sure what's going to occur, as the grand worthy matron said, as far as our reopening.
That's correct.
Any other questions for the grand chapter, Mara grand chapter?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay.
We have one comment that says, yay, past Grand Master Harvey is wearing a shirt. I guess that was designed by one of our sisters, so she's excited.
Walking at the billboard, okay. All right, so now we'll just open up for general comments and questions to the entire panelists, to include me. I have some closing statements, that's why I'm not really speaking at this time. So please submit your questions, or any other person on the panel.
Okay, so the first question is for the Most Worshipful Grand Master. It says, with the current conditions going on, where can I go to join? I received 3 signatures in Virginia many years ago in Newport News, but I moved back to Maryland before I could finish the process. I'm located in Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Right, so there is a lodge there in the Fairmont Heights area. You can submit your petition directly to that lodge. They will move forward in accordance with guidelines that we've given, which is basically they can interview you electronically. You still have to do a background check, so you have to go out through Maryland State Police or a local police agency and have that done and submitted. And then we will initiate you as soon as the conditions allow us. That is a physical in-person process, which of course we cannot do right now because of this virus. So you're gonna have to exercise patience, just like all of society has to exercise patience right now.
Great. So our next question is from Most Worshipful Past Grandmaster Stephen G. Collier, who asks, Most Worshipful Grandmaster Stanley, although early, has there been any initiative to study what Masonic practices / ritualistic work will look like in the new normal?
The short answer is yes, Most Worshipful Past Grandmaster Collier. I'm going to speak to that in my closing statements, but yes, we are looking at that quite extensively. Great question.
All right. Our next question is for our deputy for the desert. Ms. Michelle J. Lilly asks, should a member not feel comfortable attending Imperial Conference, and can they be refunded?
Our Imperial Potentate has not indicated whether the conference is canceled or not, but I will take her question and seek out through the Imperial Commandress to get an answer to her. And that is Michelle J. Lilly?
Correct.
Okay, I will find out and get back to her.
Thank you.
And thank you for the question.
Great. Our next question is for Most Worshipful Grandmaster Stanley. Will there be elections for the Blue House?
Right now, no, there will not be any elections. Will not be any elections. So that's an in-person process, which at this time we cannot do.
Okay. Our next question is, from John T. Duran Jr., greetings from Germany, and may God bless our Grand Master and Grand Lodge in all endeavors. My question is, can we order the new rituals at this present time?
Right Worship Duran, yes, you can order the new ritual. Unfortunately, the printer is currently closed. So we have a very limited amount. So your name would go into the queue and we would get it to you as quickly as we're able. All right, so please, by all means, email the Grand Lecturer or email Ms. Paula Eason and let them know that you want the ritual and how many.
Okay. We have a group-wide question from our Deputy Grand Lecturer, Al Bozeman. He asks, how will entities deal with candidates that have been approved but yet to be initiated? So I guess that's throughout each. I don't know how you want to handle it.
Right, so let me just answer for all. Again, we fall under the directives of the governor, which means that we are a non-essential business, which means that we cannot conduct initiations. Moreover, we have not developed our internal processes and protocols for dealing with that under these conditions. So even once the restrictions are lifted or gradually lifted, those procedures will not be what they were before. So that is being developed. And again, that'll be part of my closing comments where I'll go into a little bit more detail about that.
Okay. We have a question from a Mr. Henry Yates III. He just recently moved to Maryland in the Hagerstown area and wondered, are there any lodges in the area? He has been inactive for a while and wants to become active.
Right. There are brothers in the Hagerstown area. The lodge there is not active, but there are lodges close that you can affiliate with. The district deputy out there, his name is Barry Hackey, on the website under District 2. His contact information is there. If you'll reach out to him, I can guarantee you he will assist you in affiliating with the lodge ASAP.
Okay. Some clarification on Right Worshipful Bozeman's question. He mentions that the question was directed toward communication with applicants.
You can certainly communicate with them. You can conduct online investigations. You just can't have that in-person contact. You know, now, if you all agree to do in-person contacts, I would hope that you would exercise social distancing and have your personal protection, but I don't recommend it. We have technology to assist with those things.
Okay. We have a question for the Deputy of the Desert, Noble Otis Wilson. The question is, since all funds had to be returned for events, will funds from the Imperial Commander's testimonial be returned?
Great question. Thanks for the question. I would, and I'm guessing that came from a daughter. I would say just go ahead and route that through the Imperial Deputy for the Desert, and she can talk to the Imperial Commanderess, or if that's from a noble, send me an email and I'll just route that up to the Imperial Potentate. That's at the discretion of the Imperial Court and or the Imperial Council.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Oh, we have a question from Mr. Alan Johnson for Most Worshipful Grand Master. The question is, could WSOI have a virtual graduation to celebrate the hard work those who complete studies to be leaders in Prince Hall?
That may be a possibility. We had not gone that far. If the Office of the Grand Lecturers had those internal communications, they haven't conveyed it to me. But it sounds like a great idea. So thank you for putting it out there. And the Grand Lecturer is watching and listening. So I'm sure it is now being taken under serious advisement.
Correct. And on that note, the Grand Lecturer just responded, Brother Johnson, we are working on that as we speak.
Outstanding.
Okay. Sister Josette M. Civils has a question for, I assume, the Grand Worthy Matron. Can a healing take place in the chapter?
That would fall under the Grand Worthy Patron. And at this time, because we cannot meet on a one-to-one basis, you cannot be healed at this present time. So hopefully you've already submitted your paperwork to a chapter, and they'll go through the process, but you cannot be healed at this particular time. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. So if you have more questions, please submit them. But we're going to right along. A need for the membership to know and to understand that under these conditions, it is impossible for us to do what we used to do. So things like initiations, healings, or anything that requires us to gather is impossible. It's not safe and it is unlawful. So not only should we not do it, we will not do it. So I encourage your questions. I understand that there is a great deal of confusion, but all of society has been turned upside down. So everybody's trying to figure out everything. Every business model known to man has to be changed. And that is the same for Freemasonry. So work with us as we go through this period. You know, everything is fluid. 8 weeks ago, they said that there were 5 symptoms to look for. Now we have 12 symptoms to look for this virus. They don't have a handle on it. There is no true treatment, and there's certainly no vaccine. So as the scientists and the doctors learn more, they will be able to advise our elected officials, who can then advise the public at large. And from there, that's how we will rebuild and get back to where we were. So some of the questions that you're asking, I do believe that they are very good questions. Please route them through the appropriate channels and allow the leadership a chance to digest them. But understand, if it involves physically meeting, it's not going to happen right now. Any questions come in during that time?
No, sir.
Okay. So we're going to move to any closing comments that the panelists may have. So if you'll be thinking about that, and as you do that, I'm going to ask that we switch to our Prince Hall Foundation and Chairman Ranier Harvey for his comments.
Good afternoon, all. Once again, on behalf of the Prince Hall Foundation of Maryland Incorporated, we would like to thank all of you again for this opportunity. One of the initiatives that we are working on right now in conjunction with the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, which was actually an idea of our Grand Master who reached out to me and our President, Gwendolyn Moore, is we are establishing a relief fund for our membership that will be championed by the foundation. The Grand Master has committed to reaching out to help us raise funds for that effort, understanding that just like the general public, our membership will have financial issues as we begin to recover from this pandemic. And the Grand Master and the foundation was established to support the Grand Lodge. So he reached out to us and said he wanted to establish this relief fund. Of course, we are 100% behind him, and we're in a process right now of putting that effort together. And as soon as we get all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted, we will put it out for everyone to know how to submit their applications for relief in various areas. And once that's done, we look forward to helping the Prince Hall membership get back on their feet.
And in lines with that, thank you to Gwen Moore for taking on this request of mine. We're going to be asking the members to donate to this fund. It will go to the foundation. It will not go through the Grand Lodge or through the Grand Chapter or any Masonic body. So your donations will go directly to the Prince Hall Foundation, and you can reap the tax benefit of your donation. The relief fund will be for our members. It will be for our members, so we're going to ask you to support that. Many of us are just one paycheck away from having a situation. So I am going to lean on you. I am going to implore you to be giving as you are able once this is put out. Whether it's $5 or $5,000, if you're able to do it, please contribute. Please contribute. So now I'm going to go to our Masonic family for their closing comments, unless, Brother Clegg, we have received some more questions or comments since.
We have one.
Okay.
From John T. Durham Jr. Will there be an online grand session?
We don't operate like that, but we'll have a discussion about that, okay? But that's not generally how we operate. And at this point, I can't tell the other Masonic bodies that they can't have a session and then we go and have a virtual one. I think that's unfair and hypocritical at this point.
We have a comment from our Grand Lecturer, Right Worshipful Randolph Smith. It says, just an FYI, all the wardens that graduate from WSOI, the certificates are good for 4 years.
Okay, so that's just a reminder to those that graduate from the School of Instruction under the Grand Lodge that if you have successfully passed already, your certificate is good for 4 years. So you're still eligible to move up. Okay.
Okay.
So you have another question or comment?
We have a comment from our Grand Chaplain, Right Worshipful Orlando Allen Wilson. He says, thank you, Most Worshipful Grand Master, for your leadership, and we are in continuous prayer for you, your family, the leadership, and the jurisdiction. God is faithful, Grand Chaplain.
Indeed. Thank you, Bishop. Truly appreciate what you do for us. Anything else?
Brothers and sisters have posted that the Myra Grand Chapter website is live. It is myragrand.com, myragrand.com.
myragrand.com. Outstanding. Okay, we need to link that to the Grand Lodge website.
Okay. We have another question. This one is for the Deputy for the Desert. Are there any discussions about allowing virtual meetings for the daughters? Just a moment, I have to mute you.
Andrews has sent out in a directive earlier this year, back in March, in reference that there are to be no court or divan meetings, teleconference or Zoom meetings. However, committee meetings are acceptable to do that. And you can reach out to your sick and distress through teleconference or telecall or send cards. You still can do those things. But the court and divan are not allowed to have any teleconference or Zoom meetings. Committee meetings, yes, it's fine, it's acceptable. And while I am on, I would like to respond to the refund for the Imperial Testimonial. It is to my understanding that the committee will be sending out information in reference to the refund. May give you an option to leave it there or have it sent back to you. But I will seek to see if there are any other information on that subject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a question for our president of the foundation. Well, first we have a comment from Mr. Andre Clark. It says, I love the idea of a relief fund. It puts me in the mind frame of the old school benevolent societies like the Free African Society of old. Excellent, out of the box thinking by our leadership. Superb job, Most Worshipful Grandmaster and Prince Hall Foundation. We have a question from Senior Warden, Sheldon B. Redden Losman 139, Greg Davis Jr. It says, for the Prince Hall Foundation question, Is there a plan for the foundation to support the community as well after the jurisdiction is taken care of course? And thank you to the Grand Lodge staff from Senior Warden.
Thank you for the question. And yes, there are conversations taking place between myself and the president of the foundation, Gwendolyn Moore, about what the foundation can do to assist the general population or the citizens of Baltimore City and throughout Maryland. Keep in mind though, that the foundation, although it's back up and running, and we're in a good financial place, it would be difficult for us to spread ourselves too thin. So the first thing that we want to do, which I believe as the chairman and CEO is our priority, this is what we were established for, is to support the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge in supporting its members and supporting the charitable endeavors of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge. So that's our first priority. But yes, we will be considering general assistance to Maryland citizens down the road. Thank you.
Okay, so let me speak to Right Worshipful Davis's comment also. One of the things that I did early on was to send out a notice to the jurisdiction highlighting the various agencies and organizations which are available, not only to the membership, but to the general public here in the state of Maryland. And there are hundreds. So while it is, it seems like it would be great to have the foundation doing that, knowing the internal workings of the foundation and the recovery that it had to do to get to where it is now, I honestly don't see it being feasible. To help the general public, I advise individual lodges or chapters and members to get involved with those organizations that are already involved in helping the general public. And as I said on the last call, in the last teleconference, if you as a body want to go out under the banner of Prince Hall, you submit your dispensation, and then you may do your charitable work, provided you are following the guidelines that have been established by the CDC in the state of Maryland. So that's wearing your protective gear and taking great care of yourself as you do those charitable works. So I hope that addresses your question, Right Worshipful Davis. And if not, of course, you can communicate directly with the foundation or with me, and we can try to work something out. But we do not want to overextend ourselves. And we certainly don't want to, under the name of Prince Hall, be it the foundation or any of the Masonic bodies in Maryland, to overpromise and then underdeliver. We have a great reputation and we intend to maintain that.
Okay, we have a question from Right Worshipful Lewis Williams. He's asking, what is the status of scholarships for students?
We are currently still accepting scholarships. I believe the end period actually was the end of April. However, the committee is still working. The question is whether or not we will be able to fund it. I believe we will. It may not be at the levels that it was in previous years, but we will support graduating students or those that are already been in the program and will be continuing their studies. So we have been giving out between $1,000 and $2,000. That number, I can tell you, will most assuredly be reduced because our income has been reduced.
Okay, we have another question. This question is from Worthy Matron Taz McCoy Wilson. The question is, are there any plans of celebrating any of our graduating seniors in the youth fraternity and or KOP?
Ask me the question again, I'm sorry. Celebrating their...
Right, celebrating our 2020 graduating seniors who may be a part of the youth fraternity and or KOP. So I guess the question is aimed at the leaders of those organizations.
Right, certainly. So Worthy Matron, you just volunteered yourself to work with the youth groups to make that happen. Thank you for being thoughtful, and thank you for chairing that committee. We look forward to hearing a report from you. Any other questions or comments? Don't let me supersede the grad-worthy matron though, 'cause, my word will serve as law. So let me let you weigh in, grad-worthy matron, if you want to say something.
Grandmaster, I believe she texted me and said she was knocked off. So we will look at that and get back with you. I'm quite sure we will do something with the youth that may be in the Simon Cunningham group.
Okay. So she got knocked off. We'll do our best to get her back in.
She's back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she's grad-worthy matron.
Yes.
Did you hear the question? Okay, well, we're gonna let the grad-worthy patrons answer stand. And the worthy matron is still part of that committee. I'm suggesting that she be the chairperson, but she's definitely on that committee to make that happen so we can recognize our graduating seniors who are members of our youth groups. Okay, anything else come in? Okay, great. So we'll then move.
That will work for me, Grandmaster.
Outstanding. I'm sure she's somewhere saying, doggone it. I volunteered myself. So before we got another question or comment. Go ahead.
We did have a general question from a brother who mentioned that once the state guidelines are relaxed and brothers and sisters are able to go back to work, do you have an opinion as to whether we should be leery of those guidelines and follow those guidelines in the course?
As it pertains to the organization or just in general?
Both.
I would move cautiously, but I'm going to speak to that in my closing comments. So if that brother could hold off. So before we go to the closing comments from this leadership panel, I want to say to the membership that I am so proud of the leaders of this jurisdiction. In every instance, they have been more than supportive of me and my office during this time, and it is stressful, extremely stressful. The membership has a lot of questions. Your leadership has a lot of questions. From the highest levels of government down to the man and woman on the street, we're all trying to figure out what life means in 2020. But I'm grateful for these leaders who you see. They are dynamic. And as I said to you at the first town hall, wherever you are in leadership now, be you a good leader or a great leader, you're here at this time because that's what God decreed. You have a purpose and a role to fulfill. I don't know what that is, but you're here at this time and for a reason. And I'm thankful to God for these men and women. They have been mature. They have been considered in their recommendations and suggestions. And they have been humble in following my leadership, which I'm sure at times they're trying to figure out, well, what is the Grand Master talking about? Information is coming so rapidly that sometimes when it's distributed, it can be confusing. Be patient, be understanding, and work with us as we work with you to try to understand all that is going on. So to you leaders, thank you. I appreciate you. So as we move to our closing comments, we will start with the Desert of Maryland. Otis D. Wilson and daughter Patricia McCoy Lassiter.
You're Deputy for the Desert. Would you like to begin?
First, I would like, before I go into my closing comments, there was a question. Oh, I think I took care. Oh, I do want to make an announcement. The daughter's Thanksgiving service and feast is canceled for the year 2020. And I wanted to make that known. But I have really enjoyed sharing this afternoon with the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge and its concordance. I pray for all a happy and healthy weekend. However, always remember, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That's Matthew 6:33. Please stay home and stay safe. And let us continue. I say it again. Let us continue to pray for each other. And thank you again, Grandmaster, for the invitation.
Good afternoon, Grandmaster. On behalf of the nobles of the Magnificent Seven, men after God, nothing's impossible, foregoing iniquities, consciously exercising noble truth, we pray all continues to be well for this jurisdiction, this cutting edge jurisdiction. You know, as we face this latest pandemic, one of my daily prayer line brothers came up with a new meaning for COVID-19, and it simply goes like this: Christ over viruses and infectious diseases, and it alludes to Joshua 1:9, which says, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest." And that's something, Grandmaster, that we can all hang our hats on. Just keep on keeping on, nobles, daughters, brothers, and sisters. God is still in the blessing business, and he is blessing us right now. Those are my comments. We're practicing social distancing, but never away from his face or his place. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Now moving to our York right, Michael White. Any comments?
Yes, thank you. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, what is in your power to act. Proverbs 3:27. As previously stated, we still have the opportunity to do charitable events. We just need to get out, let everyone know what we're going to do, and practice social distancing and be safe. I'd like to thank you all for your time today in this town hall. We have spoken today on the merits of doing what is necessary in this time of darkness. Let us look to the horizon in the future for, and with that, we can all be assured of a blessed life. We continue the works from our sworn oaths we have all taken to do. Peace be upon all of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you. The Most Eminent Grand Commander, Eddie B. Tucker, and the Most Royal Grand Commanders, and Most Royal Grand Chief Engineer, in the person of John D. Campbell and Medford J. Campbell. Your closing words.
First, I'd like to thank the Grand Master and his staff, and thank all of the appended bodies for being here. Hopefully, this really helps all of our jurisdiction. Now, our Most Warrior Grand Commandress, Joan Campbell.
This comment is directed to our dear Grand Master. I want to thank you on behalf of the Most Royal Grand Court of Cyrene for your superb leadership and efforts in keeping your membership safe and well-informed during this pandemic. You have been on top of this horrible situation from the beginning, and we truly appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate you. I ask everyone that we continue to be safe, be vigilant, and pray for one another. Thank you for this opportunity today. I really enjoyed it.
To the Most Worshipful Grand Masters, thank you for allowing St. Andrew's Grand Commandery to be a part of this town hall. It is imperative that we continue to speak to our members, not just by you, but by all of us that are sitting in the seats that our members voted us to be in. We should always take care of our well-being, our health, and our safety. In hoc signo vincenz. This time we shall conquer. And we follow the guidelines of our Lord and Savior. He shall conquer this virus. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Grand Thrice Illustrious Master Clarence Trahan and Royal Grand Perfect Matron Alana Smokes.
Again, Grandmaster, I want to say thank you for allowing Prince Hall Grand Council to take part in this town hall. It was very informative. It was good to see all of the leadership and see if they're doing well. I wish all of the members of the Prince Hall family well. And I just want to say this last thing before I'm in my statement. A lot of people are saying that, this is something that the devil was doing when the pandemic came along. I'm looking at it differently. I'm looking at the way that the Lord had to teach all of us that he's still in charge. Because he shut down the entire world. Didn't matter if you're rich, poor, he shut everything down. And I think after this, we need to find out what we need to learn and just treat one another better and with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Alana Smokes.
Good afternoon again, Grandmaster. I would again like to say thank you for this opportunity. As everyone has mentioned, this was an awesome opportunity for the body, the grand body, to reach out to the membership. Again, I echo everyone's sentiments. Please, everyone, continue to be safe, be vigilant. Please use your common sense. We are looking towards our leadership for guidance, but nothing can guide you better than your own common sense. So continue to pray and remember that at the end of the day, we will get through this and we will be better for it. Thank you again, Grandmaster, and it was wonderful to see everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll hear from Dale Weaver and Sister Beverly Johnson Conway. Sister Beverly, we'll start with her.
Master, for your invitation and for this informative town hall meeting. I hope that everyone continues to practice social distances, and if not, please do so. Also, please remain prayerful, finding your strength in God. Be safe and take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Most Excellent Grand High Priest Dale Weaver.
Good afternoon again, Most Worshipful Grand Master. Again, I want to thank you for allowing myself and Hiram Holy Grand Chapter to participate in this town hall. I am humbled to be a part of this Maryland Masonic leadership team. I respect, appreciate, and love each and every one of you. Psalms 107, verse 1 and 2 states, "Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endure forever." And we know that if we keep praying to he who looks high, who sits high and looks low, we know that this will pass and everything will be back to normal at some given time. And I just want to reiterate what everybody else has stated up to this point, for everybody to be vigilant, be safe, be smart. Even if things are opening up at a rapid pace, use your own common sense to determine whether you want to subject yourselves or your family to this disease. As most of you are aware, or if not all of us are aware, they don't have a vaccine. So even when, like I said, even when we're given the okay to start moving about, we still ought to move about with caution. And I just want to say that if there's anybody that has any questions for me or for anything that I have put out to my membership, just feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I want to thank all the constituent chapters for continuing to hold their meetings as well virtually, and to reach out to their membership and keep their membership informed. And we look forward, Most Worshipful Sir, to support you and all the other concordant independent bodies. Thank you.
Grand Worthy Patron Robert K. Perry, your comments, and then if you would bring forward the Grand Worthy Matron for her comments.
Yes, Grandmaster. Thank you again. To the Mara Grand Chapter membership, I say use this time to study your rituals, to maintain your proficiency. Continue to prepare yourself for the next step because we're going to get through this. If there are personnel that want to join our organization, send them the paperwork, talk to them, tell them to be patient, give us a little time. As soon as we get the all clear, we will proceed with getting you in. And now, as usual, it is my pleasure to introduce our Grandworthy matron, Sister Barbara Henderson.
Thank you, Grandworthy Patron. Again, Grandmaster, thank you so much for this opportunity to join you today and the rest of the family members of this outstanding jurisdiction. Thank you so much, and we will continue to work together as one as we get through this epidemic. Thank you for all that you are doing, Myra Grand, as we continue to work through the issues and continue to keep Myra going. Your situation should not change your praise, but your praise can certainly change your situation. So continue to pray, check on your membership, check on our senior members, and help out in any way that you can. Thank you again, Grandmaster, for this opportunity.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions come in?
We have comments that say, outstanding job, Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Maryland, and we're getting prayers from the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Michigan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Michigan. Greatly appreciate that. Anything else? Prince Hall Masonic Leadership of Maryland, I thank you again for your leadership. Those here in the state of Maryland are aware of the yeoman's effort that Governor Hogan has been putting forward. He has a fabulous team of experts who are working on this issue. Not this Friday, but the Friday before this one, he put forward his Maryland Strong Roadmap to Recovery Plan. I will be working with the governor on one of his work groups dealing with nonprofits and how we recover from this pandemic going forward. The roadmap, to those of you who have taken the opportunity to read it, is in 3 phases. After looking at his plan, I had conversations with several experts within our Grand Lodge to begin our roadmap to recovery. So I just want to give you a brief overview of where we're going. Now I'm calling it the Maryland Prince Hall Masonic Jurisdiction Phased Reopening Plan. So we will have our own work group that will parallel that of the governor's work group. Everyone should understand the following, that 1, we will, under every circumstance, remain compliant with the laws of Maryland and any gubernatorial executive orders that are issued. Secondly, we will continue to do as the hospitals do, and that is to assume that everyone is positive until we all can be 100% tested. So in that vein, I am developing the framework for a joint committee to thoroughly review the gubernatorial phase reopening plan, to assess his plan, and then to develop a parallel plan for our jurisdiction. So what does that mean? I'm asking for those in the medical field within our organization to contact me at the Grand Lodge. So if you're a doctor or nurse, I need to talk to you, because we need to understand what is coming out of the CDC or what's coming from the health professionals here in Maryland under the governor. And specifically, we would need to know how does that impact our specific demographics. We know already that we have a majority of African Americans in our organization, and we know that we have a number of members who are in the high risk categories. And then I would need recommendations from you. For example, will it be possible going forward, or will it be necessary going forward for our members to wear some sort of medical bracelet or to carry a medical card in their wallet that identifies their blood type, any allergies, pre-existing conditions that a medical personnel would need to know, and an emergency contact number. That's just one example that I would be asking that sub-work group to come forward with recommendations to myself and the rest of the leadership of this grand jurisdiction. So we've all been in situations to where we've had members that actually pass out while we've been in meetings, and we don't know what to do because we don't know what their conditions are. Now, what I'm not suggesting is that I know what everybody's medical issues are. I'm saying that if we're in a meeting, I should be able to go on your wallet and there should be a medical card or something to tell me what's going on, or information that we can give to emergency personnel that show up. So I should be able to call your wife or your husband. And when an EMT arrives, he should know that you're blood type O and that you are allergic to penicillin. These are things that people should know. And we need to seriously consider that at this time. I also need legal professionals to come forward. I already have one, but I'll be looking for lawyers to come forward that can help us to understand the laws here in Maryland as it pertains to potential liability to our organization. I know that the federal government is now looking at perhaps limiting or putting a cap on liability to businesses. We need to examine what does the Maryland law now encompass, and if it doesn't, perhaps we need to lobby to put that in place, because we certainly don't want to be crippled because someone sues us over reopening and then they contract this virus. It also means that we'll all have to review our insurance policies. We've had a business interruption. So you have to check your business policy, your insurance policies, and see, do you have a clause in your insurance policy that says you can recoup funds because of business interruption? Do you have a clause in there that encompasses things such as this pandemic? And if not, what would it take to add that to your insurance policy, and what will that cost? I would ask the legal team to also look at is, what is our legal responsibility if we do reopen our doors? What must we do? What type of cleaning will be necessary? Do we have to issue PPE, etc.? Then we have to look at what happens in our business meetings. So we would have a separate work group to look at that. That means your monthly, your bi-monthly, or your quarterly, or even your annual meetings. What happens? If you have a staff meeting, if you have a committee meeting, if you have a special inspection, your schools of instruction, what does that look like going forward? On this call here, we've had questions about ritualistic work. So we would have a separate committee working on ritualistic protocols. And the Grand Lecturer for this Grand Lodge is already working towards that. His team is working to establish protocols, which we would then share with the court and independent bodies for their consideration. Everyone has to understand that our customs and usages will be modified. The way we do initiations will be modified. And we'll have to work collaboratively to make that happen without a bunch of fuss about, well, what we used to do. You have to be very flexible during this time. And that's for your safety and anyone that we may bring into this organization. Then we'd have a work group that would talk about our external protocols and what that means for when we are interacting with the public. So our fundraising and our social activities, our charitable activities. And this is a biggie, what happens when you want to travel to another jurisdiction or another jurisdiction wants to travel here? What protocols will be in place? Would it be allowed? Is it intelligent to do right now? Those are things that the work group would have to consider and then come back and make recommendations. Because if you can imagine, one of the great privileges of being a Mason or an Eastern Star is your ability to travel from one jurisdiction to another. But if it were necessary as Grand Master, I may have to issue an order that says there will be no traveling. There will be no visitations. But that would be a recommendation that would come from a work group. And then we would have a group that would have to evaluate and properly look at the acquisition and sustainment of personal protective equipment, which is difficult to obtain right now. Even here in the state of Maryland and in other jurisdictions, the governors are having to hide PPE from the federal government. So we know that it's difficult. And I'm not just talking about cloth masks, I'm talking about masks that actually prevent the virus from escaping. Either you breathing it out or you breathing it in. So what does that mean? We have to find a way to obtain N95 or KN95 masks, a large supply of hand sanitizer, disposable latex gloves, antibacterial disinfectants. And how do we incorporate that into what we do? Because our organization is unique. And then there's a matter of, do we even let people into our doors? And how does that work? Who stands at the door with the temperature gun? What temperature is acceptable? And if I am a prominent member, if my temperature is too high, will I lean on the person at the door to allow me to come in just because of who I am? These are things that have to be considered by us. We know now that the virus can last in the air for up to 3 hours under the right conditions. So we have to look at our environmental systems, our heating and air conditioning. What happens if I sneeze and it goes through the air ducts? Will it be transmitted to the next room? I don't know. But I'll be assembling a work group to take a look at that. You've heard from our foundation. So we'll have to look at the financial impact, not only to the organization, but also to individual members and how we address that. So those are some of the groups that I'll be putting together in the next week so that we can address the many questions that you have for how we can safely reopen and operate as Masons and Eastern Stars. Will we be issuing masks? I would say initially that we would have the responsibility to issue those masks. And that would be a shared cost. I would have to discuss that with the heads of houses. Once we develop a company that can provide these items, you know, that would have to be a shared cost because that could be enormous. These are difficult questions. It is not easy. I do not have all the answers. But I would be looking to the membership to help. So if you have an expertise, I'm asking you to communicate with me directly, or you can call the Grand Lodge and offer your services. I'm not just looking for anybody that just wants to be on a committee. I know everyone wants to help. I know you're interested in getting back to doing what we do. But I need those with actual expertise to come forward to help answer these questions, to interpret laws, to interpret policies, and to help us to craft a plan that will allow us to reopen safely. So I'll give you an example. We operate in closed meetings. We do not just allow anyone into our private, regular meetings. So if we have the person that's on the outer door, do they have to be a medical professional is one of my questions. Do they know how to read a temperature gun? I don't know. I don't know. If they're sitting outside of one of our doors, are they required to wear a mask and gloves? I would say yes, but who polices them? If you're sitting in an anteroom and you decide to take off your mask and then to sneeze into your hand, and then you use that hand to open the door to allow someone in, who polices them to make sure that they are then changing their gloves and disinfecting the door that they just touched? And if they sneezed into the air, how do we cleanse the air? I don't have the answers to these questions, but this is something for us to consider. Because you could be the next person that walks into that space and now you're infected. So I don't take any of these things lightly because I don't want any of our members to get sick. I certainly don't want any of our members to die from COVID-19. But our organization requires us to be in close proximity. It requires us to touch one another. So I will be moving very, very cautiously. As the governor reduces restrictions, I will be more hesitant to reduce restrictions. The fact is, as soon as someone says, now people can go outside, millions of people are going to go outside. This may be graphic for you, but understand, everyone does not have the same hygiene level. When the highways were filled, occasionally you would look to your right or your left, and there would be a person over there that just had to get something out of their nasal passage. And you see them and you wonder what happens. How do they wipe their hand after they retrieve that object and then touch their steering wheel? Well, before, it may not have affected you. You may not have thought more about it. Now you do. Now you do. How much hand sanitizer will be necessary in our organization? How much cleaning of the building must we do after each and every meeting? These are questions that must be answered before we can safely reopen. If someone comes to one of our events and they say they're healthy coming in and then they walk back out and a day or two later they're saying that they have COVID-19 and now they want to point the finger at us, are we liable? I don't know. So over this time frame, while we are under this lockdown and before we can safely reopen, I will work on your behalf to get these questions answered and to try to come up with a plan that makes sense for us in the way we do business. I hope that you understand what I'm doing and the direction that I'm going in, and I pray that you will pray for me and the leadership of this jurisdiction. Exercise common sense, I believe Alana Smoke said. Exercise common sense. Do we have any other questions or comments?
We have a comment from Brother Ronald A. Hendricks, who says, "Thank you so very much, Grandmaster. For the first time in history, this has been the best town hall meeting I've ever had as a Masonic brother for many years. Every head of house was present at our town hall meeting, and it was great."
Thank you very much. Thank you for participating.
Okay.
As we scroll through and look for additional questions and comments, I want to ask our panelists, did anyone have any additional comments that you may have forgotten that you need to get out before we prepare to close out? I'm going to say to the membership, please be safe. Follow the directives of wherever you live. We have a number of members who joined us in the European theater. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you're doing for us overseas. Stay healthy. Stay safe. I understand that Freemasonry is important to all of us. But use this time to be with your families, because nothing is more important than them. I'll be praying for you and your families. So until our next town hall, may God bless you and God keep you. Thank you.
All right.